And they wanted to create an entity that would be for generations to come in any culture, in any background, understandable, to support humanity to come back to themselves, their spirit, their inner quest. And this energy, what they wanted to create, they called Maitreya. And since we planned to create a place of teaching, healing, it sounded like a very, beautiful connection, as well as it's like saying it's the friendly teacher. And then when we already decided on the name, what we really liked was we found a quote of, you need to say the name, what's his name? No. Exactly. And he said like that the next Buddha is probably not going to be a person, but it's going to be community. And I really like that, because there is so much religions that give this belief about there's somebody who is going to rescue us. And I personally don't believe in that. I believe it's us that need to become that, what we want to see in the world.
Hey everyone, welcome to my podcast, Fatherhood from the Heart. My name is Efrain Martinez, and I am a father of 6 amazing children, a longtime educator, and a coach. I created this podcast to inspire and open the hearts of fellow men, fathers, parents, and teens who want to grow and develop a greater connection with their children, partners, and themselves. It shall also inspire in looking at the importance of our personal growth, the desire in looking at old ideas through new lenses, and the discoveries of our hidden potentials. I'm so glad you're joining me today to listen to my podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard so far, please take a moment to like, share, and rate the show, as this will help me greatly in growing and bringing the wisdom of my guests into the world. Thank you very much for your support. My guests today are Michi and Karen Piotrowski, the founders of Maitreya, an intentional off-grid eco-community which is located in the mountains of southern Spain. Together, they are creating an open and non-judgmental, no-harm approach of life. The community holds a loving and compassionate environment for its members and strives to live in harmony with each other and the surrounding world. Maitreya is a place for transformational living and a healing biotope that supports inner growth and the sustainable way of life. The community is guided by the ethics of permaculture as they strive for harmonious coexistence with nature. Michi leads the people of Maitreya in making sure that everything runs and flows smoothly. He studied a variety of subjects from Waldorf pedagogy, yoga, and permaculture. His philosophy is to embody knowledge and to do conscious and dedicated work every day. Michi, or Michi as he is known to everyone in the community, is a certified yoga teacher and Waldorf educator. Karen has dedicated her life to understanding why humans often find themselves trapped in lives that are not the reality of what their souls want to experience. She helps and guides people finding the tools to break those patterns down and writing a new story for their lives. Karen is a certified trauma-informed yoga teacher, sound healer, and dynamic healing. Additionally, she's a certified coach in breathwork and somatics. I hope you enjoy listening to this conversation as much as I did. Welcome, Michi and Karen, to the podcast. I am so happy that you have agreed to joining me here for this conversation. And also, I feel very grateful that you have invited me here into your space. I would like you to begin by introducing yourselves and telling me a little bit of your story, how you've gotten to the place that you're at right now.
Right. So we're here now since almost 2 years. In February, it's becoming 2 years. And we came to the decision to live in a place like this when we figured out that we were expecting our son, Enki, and therefore making decisions how we want to raise him, how we want to live. And we started our journey to first join a community, nature place, retreat place. Those were the terms that we figured out were important for both of us. And on that way, we more and more recognized that it is probably something that we want to create ourselves. And then we were also, trusting those signs, and suddenly opportunities came up, and this chance came up. And we came here, and through that time already, we have experienced many different ways of how we live together, many groups, many ways, and figuring more and more out what's our way of living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it started also with a different setting. We started first with more people and tried to understand how we could co-create this together. And it always came back to family a lot. Like, okay, we want to create a place where we can raise our son, and we want to have a family-friendly environment. And also recognizing that there are many people where we started to co-create that we have very different visions, and in order to create a community we really needed to at least have, you know, that vision, that idealistic goal very similar, because then we can start building towards that. So I think that was also part of the process in these last 3 years, to recognize, okay, we have that goal together, and this is also one of the things that has kept us really with this strength and this like commitment to create Maitreya together.
And it's a huge project. You're doing an incredible job. I've enjoyed being here with my family. Can you tell me a bit more from your personal story before Maitreya? How did you even come up with this concept, with the idea?
I can share the vision that I had. And then I feel also from the feminine side, there's this part that it's a little bit more intuitive. Mm-hmm. And then from the masculine side, is there more concrete building creation. Mm-hmm. So Michi will also share about that part. But before I met Michi, I had this idea, like this walk in the forest, where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? What do I really want to do? And this image came of a man and a child, and there was a baby boy with like curly blonde hair, and a house somewhere in nature. And we were doing some sort of retreats with teachers that I worked in the past. And suddenly we were living in that house, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a beautiful idea for like the future, maybe 10 years or something. I can imagine that. I have no idea how it's going to happen, but I would keep it. Yeah, I think that's a nice future I would like to manifest. And 3 months after that, I met Michi. And in our first date, we also shared a little bit about our dreams and what we want to create. And 3 months after that, I got pregnant. And even though we were told it was going to be a girl, he ended up being a boy. And now it's this blonde, curly boy from that vision that I have. We're in that same place. So it was kind of like the only time in my life where I really experienced something where I saw this place before. And I feel that kept me also with this trust, deeper trust that, okay, there's something coming. And even though we didn't know each other for so long, we had a very deep connection from the very beginning. And we were like, okay, there's something very big coming, and the soul wants to come for us. And during that year, somehow we made it happen, or it came to us. So this was like the year and a half before we came here. Yeah. And still for me, it's really mysterious.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. I actually got the chill that you're telling that. That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And then you got this opportunity and coming here to Maitreya. What does Maitreya stand for, if I may ask? Did you choose that name, or was it already part of this land?
He chose it.
So when the topic was present about finding a name, I already found in the past a name, and it kind of fitted very much because it was where I read it from. I mean, Maitreya, there's some stories around it, the next Buddha and so on. That was actually not what I was in that moment knowing about. But what I found really beautiful was a story that some ancient yogis were seeing in times where we were like slowly forgetting more and more about how to be connected with our inner world, with our spirit's world. And they wanted to create an entity that would be for generations to come, in any culture, in any background, understandable, to support humanity to come back to themselves, their spirit, their inner quest. And this energy, what they wanted to create, they called Maitreya. And since we planned to create a place of teaching, healing, it sounded like a very beautiful connection as well, as it's like saying it's the friendly teacher. And then when we already decided on the name, what we really liked is we found a quote of, you need to say the name, what's his name?
I probably didn't pronounce it.
Exactly. And he said like that the next Buddha is probably not going to be a person, but it's going to be community. And I really like that because there is so much religions that give this belief about there's somebody who is going to rescue us. And I personally don't believe in that. I believe it's us that need to become that what we want to see in the world. And I believe these communities can be that. What brings me back to the question that you asked Karen. For me also, this is what I believe that we need more in the world. It's like coming back to nature, living in connection with nature, growing our own food, because there is so much healing that needs to be done for us as individuals, but also to nature. And we can only manage this if we move back to nature, in whatever form it is. For some it's community, for some it will be family, or there's so many forms of communities you can choose. But I think this is a really important impact that we can have in changing this world to a place where our children also have a future. And that was my main origin thought, that I want to have children. So wanting to live like that comes from the idea I want to create a future where children have a place in this world.
That is a beautiful vision. So you're trying to create, if I understand this correctly, a community where nature and humans all live in harmony together, and where healing process can take place.
Yes.
That is quite a task.
Yes.
And you have an enormous amount of land that you are taking care of, you're stewarding, which in a very beautiful and healthy way, I think. What are your stepping stones? What are your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals for this vision?
Okay, I mean, I think I have to separate here in two pillars, because healing takes for me place on the human level. And I think there is part Karen can share more, while I on the human level would go more into the pedagogy part, where Karen is more in the healing part. And then there's healing of the land as the other pillar. And let's start with healing on the land, because I think it's less complex. The idea is to regenerate this land, to redo or to help nature to regenerate in the way that was before, because it was all forest in these areas. And this is what needs to happen. So in kind of milestones in the beginning will be like bringing pioneer trees that grow very quickly, that will protect the land, shade the land, bring biomass, maybe not contain a lot of fruits, but mainly support the land to regenerate, and then slowly establish what you want to have, the fruit trees, etc. In combination with certain earthworks, with certain permaculture methods, how you can like support the land in doing that. So it can hold more space for animals, humans again. So that I would say is on the more land side in a nutshell. And then on a human part, I mean, for me in general, I want this place to be like a teaching and healing place. I myself see myself more on the teaching side. I was for some time in the healing spectrum, mainly because I think it's a part of everybody of us. It's something that we all should be all part of us, even if we don't teach it. But what I find really interesting is also the aspect of pedagogy, because in my experience, it's more difficult to heal somebody who already like got trauma or difficult life situations to get out of there than in the first place to support children to not get too traumatized in the beginning. And this field lies close to my heart. I studied line of pedagogy or Steiner School, more known in other countries. And there I really saw that I cannot work in any of those school systems, because even if they're alternative, they have to obey to the system that the governments are offering. And yes, I want to make it easier for the next generation to have this inner access to themselves, to not going out of school in this world and being like, okay, what do I do now? Like, do I study something for money, or because I want to get that partner, or whatever reason they think they have to study something for, but rather being already intrinsic and knowing what do I actually want.
That's a beautiful vision.
Yeah, I think from the long-term and short-term vision, as he was saying, that there's the land, the healing of the land, and the healing of the human heart. And it's also very much connected, because I feel also when people come here, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of silence. So just sometimes, like right now, we're in this stage where we are posting people in Booking.com or Airbnb, like in these platforms where people can stay for a few nights. And this is so far our short-term vision to like support us also financially to manage also the place and so on. But like on the long term, we really want this to be a place more where retreats can happen, or longer programs or trainings. So it's a very in-depth experience. So you can come here and maybe disconnect for a week and really, really go through the deep stuff, the deep emotions, because there is the space for it. And usually when people come here, even for volunteering or for staying for a few days, there's sometimes not much needed to do, let's say from our side, to be like the coach or the mentor or the teacher, but it's something that just happens when people come so close to nature. It's just a place where people can suddenly listen to themselves. It's a place where they can start feeling themselves more. And that's why it's very much connected. So I feel the land, the earth is also supporting the process of people being able to get more in touch with themselves. And then, of course, there's supportive tools or supportive methods or containers that we can work further, as well as not only creating our retreats, being only us, the ones who facilitate, but actually inviting other teachers, healers, practitioners to create or co-create with us here, to give the space for other people that share a vision to also come here and bring their clients, their students, to have a place where they can also share that. So yeah, that's the long-term, mid-term, long-term solution vision that we have also from that side. And also working online, because we need also to reach the people in some way. They need to kind of trust what we're doing here, get to know the place. And I feel that the internet is still right now a very powerful tool to start sharing what's happening here, as we're doing now.
Yeah, this is such a powerful and important work that you guys are doing. And I love the fact that you're doing that with your son in mind. As you mentioned, you have a little son who's 3 years old now. Before I ask more questions related to you as a family, where do you feel that your greatest learnings have been so far, and how do you intend to incorporate them moving forward to build Maitreya?
I can. I mean, I think from my side also, because I moved here just as a new mother, I just had a very small baby. And we were also just becoming father like right away. So that was a huge initiation for us. And for me personally, it was this transformation into a more mature woman that needs to still learn to hold herself so she can co-create a place like this. So it's like, okay, there's not so much of the comforts that we had in the city. There's not so much, okay, I'm employed by this company and they solve all these things for me. And I have like the parent boss and the parent government that does everything for me. But it's more like, okay, I need to learn how to do these things myself while I caretake for another person, and learning to hold myself, learning to trust him, to trust the place, to trust the vision, and going through periods of unknown and going through discomfort that I also didn't experience before. So it was also very new for me to like say, okay, I've been always a person that I could commit very quickly to something and just go for it. But I've never experienced such a big level of a project, of a vision. Of like, it was always something kind of small that it's like, okay, I do this, okay, I do that. But this was like, okay, this is a life project, and this requires healing of my old patterns, my wounds, my ancestral stuff. It needs to happen, otherwise we just go back to the past. We just go back to how things were. It's like it requires a lot of inner strength and compassion and patience. And also now in the process of transformation, it takes time. It's not like something that happens from one day to the other, but it's like an unfolding. Yeah. So for me, so far in my life, I think this has been like one of the most transformational facets ever.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And also being with so many people, having volunteers, sharing a space, trusting new people, and becoming more open to people you don't know and living with them and learning from them, and also setting boundaries with, okay, how much is too much for me? How much can I share? How much emotional involvement can I have so I can still do my things?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I think I could like so many things, but I feel right now they are really present.
Yeah, and in a way, you gave birth to two beings. You gave birth to your son, and then you gave birth to this community. And to hold both of them simultaneously is, of course, an enormous task.
Yeah, it's also really hard to get for me what are the most important things that I've learned. I think that's probably also a very individual journey, starting a project like this. In general, I would say projects like this in terms of living in nature plus living in community feels for me like amplifiers for life. Like everything gets more intense, the challenging emotions, but also the joyful emotions. So everything is really intensified, and as well learning on the mental plane and emotional plane gets intensified. And I mean, myself, I needed to learn a lot that I can figure things out because of this off-grid aspect that we are having, especially in South Spain, where when you call like an electrician or plumber, like, you never know when they're arrive. Like, if they say tomorrow, that doesn't mean anything. It could be in a week, could be never. So you need to really learn yourself most of the things. So I learned so many things about pretty much everything: plumbing, electricity, about mechanics, about building, gardening, and so on and so on. But that you actually can figure things out yourself, like to have that trust, because I really recognize that we live in such an abundant time with the power of internet. I mean, just pretty much anything you can figure out. If you have time, if you look at a YouTube app, you find information about it, and then you just go try and error. Like some things will work, some things don't, but at some point you reach it. So this, I think, was a really powerful thing to recognize this possibility we have in our times to create something that easy. As well, what is for me a more personal quest, because I really like, it's my heart project, and therefore like I engaged all my energy. And by times it's really important for me to remind myself to come into rest modes and come into joyful moments and aside from this project, because otherwise I get too much lost in that work and cannot zoom out anymore, and then feel entangled in the smaller problems, and they also start to accumulate more suddenly when I'm too much into that. So yeah, that's for me a big learning thing to always say, okay, take a step out, do something else, and then come back and with more ease pick it up.
Now, as mentioned before, talking about your son, how do you incorporate two children in a way? You have this community that you're trying to bring along slowly, and a human being that you're also trying to bring on his path of life, and how you're able to bring both of these beings together and still create a balance for yourselves as a family.
Yeah, I think that was quite challenging for us in the beginning when we came here, because I mean, one of the main thoughts coming with a child into community was also, okay, it's going to be an intense job just having a child, and therefore we wished for like support around us that would also want to be with that child. And mostly we didn't experience that, at least with the ones that stayed the longest with us. There was not so much interest into children in this age. And therefore we were quite alone, like in terms, of course there was support on the project base, but still many things we had to figure out. But in terms of the child, we had to manage most of it. I mean, especially in the first year, they're not wanting so much other beings.
It was a little.
Exactly. And then we needed to create that infrastructure slowly that supported us, the people around. We have now always volunteers that support us with that. We just go to kindergarten, we just are away from anything. We also don't really want it. I mean, it feels that he still wants us to be close. And we also want to, allow him to grow in his speed, how he needs the things. So, and then in combination with the project, there's also a lot of like tasks. And it is really like a baby, because in the beginning it doesn't do anything. It doesn't provide you with money or food or anything. It just, you need to put a lot of energy into it till it starts walking itself. That's that first point. So now slowly, since a couple of months, we can feel that it starts to get momentum. Money is coming more in. We're still investing a lot, but we are recognizing that the fruits are happening. So it needs quite some endurance and patience and steadiness, and at the same time also openness for change if things are not working in the way that they were tried before.
And also I feel Enki, our son, is also kind of part of the community. Like, he is really involved with everything, knows everyone, spends time with everyone, and also helps around with the construction or things that are happening. He's always around, and I really like that he can experience that. And I feel that in the future also he naturally is very extrovert and wants to share people things and all the plays. And it's also a way that he's kind of pretty much, I mean, I feel the two projects or two babies kind of grew at the same time. So now that also he was saying also Maitreya is slowly starting to be a little bit more established, and also Enki now is getting more and more independent and having his own will, his own wishes, and can be more independent, playing around. And also in the past, we had two very young babies, so and very also young new parents. So it was a big learning. And also we still don't have fully long-term members that also live here with us, but we've been having also more people that stay longer and also create a longer long-term connection also with us and with Enki. So it's also this feeling of family starts to grow as well. So what he was mentioning at the beginning, that we didn't have so much support, it's also if we want to create this project and we really want to make it happen, he takes care of so many things here, the physical level. And in the first year, I could not do much in terms of also online stuff. And now I feel now I'm starting to come out. And I feel this is very important for me as well as it's important for him. So we need to find a way to balance it. We cannot be right now full-time parents, because then we cannot work on the project. So it has been how much can we dedicate fully to be a parent plus fully to create the project without fully burning ourselves out. So finding the support and the help that we need.
In many ways, you're living the African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. You're doing that in many ways. You are living by example, stewarding the land, healing yourselves in both mind, spirit, also physical body. And you're using your resources with people that you trust to help raise Enki. So in many ways, it's of course a very beautiful image. And you just mentioned that you are hoping, and I think you said that before too, Michi, to me once, that you're looking to eventually have other people join full time and have their own plots of lands within this the lands that you have as a resource. Did I understand that right?
Yeah. So, I mean, in our observation and walking through different experiences already with people that were here, I always try like to go to these extremes to like get a little bit of a vision, because like people are always with community, they have a certain picture of it. It's like communism or whatever. But I mean, the way how you will find your community is pretty much depending on you. So it could be a very individual community where everybody has their own part of land and you can meet if you want, but there is no stronger connection between each other.
Mm-hmm.
Or there can be communities like Tamera, Sex, and so on that really try to share everything from even money to partners. And they can be also very interesting in terms of learning curve, because there's so much to explore in those fields. And in between that, there's a huge range about what do you want to share with each other. And it has all pros and cons, depending on which level. So therefore, yeah, we are also in this like quest. Somewhere in between that is also, yeah, our wish to live. And so far we recognize we want to have an individuality. So people should have their own land and their safe base that is like feeling like a home aside of what is happening in the community in that moment, because there will be challenges, and it's then good also to feel like, okay, I'm not frightened in terms of my safety here. But at the same point, having a bigger vision together and certain values that work together, because we also saw that I believe you can make with any group a community happening if you have the time and dedication to walk through this process. But it's not always maybe the most beneficial for each individual, because if everybody starts to live in compromises for each other, and in the end, we're just a little percentage of potential what we could have been. And therefore, I think that it is so important to really choose people that are very similar in what you want to create in a similar direction. So you can more live in your full expansion of that. So, and then connecting these with the children, when we have more families here living here, then we also want to establish something that would be like a school system, but more based on, I wanted to say more modern, but actually also more ancient forms of education that were always there, that are now being rediscovered and that are closer to the human aspect of us, what we would really need if the system or the culture behind us wouldn't be the important part, but really the individual would be the most important part. And something like this, we would also like to establish the kind of mentoring place for the children where they can be supported in their individual roles.
Yeah. There's one part that you mentioned also that's very interesting, of the creation of a community where you are kind of similar, but similar in a way that it's not that you have the same taste or you have the same, I don't know, you like the same music or you eat the same. It's important to have similar values, but the most important thing is to have a similar vision and also to have skills that are symbiotic, let's say, because if we all have the same skills, imagine we all want to be a coach and we all want to build, or we all want to just do one thing, then we are missing also the other energies that also are supportive. So we also need people that have a similar vision and that have skills or desires that are supportive to the other, that are not in competition, that are not in compromise, that are more like, okay, what I bring supports you, what you bring supports me, and you can be you and I can be me. So I think it's not the easiest quest, but I feel this is in general, in relationships, in friendships, you want this kind of connections in community. If you live together, even more. Yeah.
And it can be, it can be a real challenge. And that is, I really admire how incredibly calm both of you are. I don't know how you do it. I think there'd be situations I would go insane, I think. So that that is something that I've been wanting to ask you. It's just like, how do you even do that? I mean, you're constantly exposed, with your own stuff. We already have enough stuff to carry on our own, right? Then we have our partner, then we have our child, and then we have everything that we need to take care of, what you also just spoke, your online business, the land, the vision of the community. And on top of that, you have guests, and then you have all these volunteers. Each person with their own stuff. So you're exposed to their energies as well. What do you do to protect yourselves and to stay centered?
So
Very good question.
So for me, like a practice that I continuously do is unavoidable, like without any day of excuse. Like I do every morning my routine. At least I do yoga with everybody together who wants to join. And usually I already do some meditation, plus maybe a run or a cold shower or something before that already. So at least in the morning I dedicate 2 hours, if not more, to myself. And in the afternoon I take a siesta. I got used to the Spanish lifestyle and I really enjoyed it. Sometimes it's not sleep, sometimes it's just laying down, having some frequencies and just coming back to myself. And that is like essential for me. There's no way that works around that. And then I also think over time the resilience builds at some point now, because you learn to live with failures, that things don't work out and that life still goes on. And I also kept saying that, like, I think in the end of my life I will be a very relaxed man, because so many things already that we experienced in the time here, from can't even describe how many crazy things have happened here. But you gain resilience with that. You're like, it's okay, it's just an experience, life continues. So I think you grow step by step in the role, and you need to dedicate time to yourself. Never forget that. You're really easy to forget that community.
And also when you mentioned that you go crazy with something, it's like I feel like through these years, especially at the beginning, there were times where I also went crazy, or like, okay, I cannot handle this. It's too much for me. Like, and feeling like there's not space for your emotions because there's all these people. So, okay, how do I then deal with this? Usually if you're in your flat with your partner, then you cannot go through that alone, and that's it, But here it's like, okay, you cannot just explode in the middle of, it can happen, and that's still okay. We're human. But for us holding the space, like, we really need to caretake of ourselves, as he's saying, ourselves, our relationship, our needs, our boundaries. Okay, what's too much? What's still okay? Communicating it, like, okay, maybe right now it's too many people for me. How can we reduce that? Because it's getting overwhelming, trying to communicate things before you get to the point where you cannot handle it anymore. So before you are in this explosion mode. And of course, with this wave of tolerance, let's say, it also grows with time. At the beginning, it's like, okay, one thing, it's going to take you over your edges. But slowly it's like, okay, this is challenging, but we can go through that and maybe readjust if we see, okay, we're also human. Sometimes it's also a lot. We can then reduce a little bit, maybe have a little bit less volunteers for a while if there are other emotional topics happening, or if we need to focus on another project, or keep track on those things. And also recognizing we're also different, like women and men are different. Like, I recognize from myself, I need more time alone and more space for myself, maybe than he needs right now. He's very dedicated and it works for him really well. But for me, I need more space, even on my own space, because I still like breastfeed my son, and I still like pretty much spend the whole night with him, and I still need these moments where I'm not involved with the community all the time. Like, I take myself out, and I feel this is really helpful for me. Like, in the past, I would try to be every evening with every activity that's going on, and being in conversations with everybody, listening to their emotional processes, and recognizing that I was not able to even handle my emotions. So it's like, okay, there needs to be also a boundary where okay, I cannot be there for every single one emotionally. I can be there for the group in certain, meeting ceremonies that we have, but the rest I need to also ground myself and be able to be there for our son, for him, for myself, for clients. And yeah, it requires also learning, like really a lot of learning. For me, boundaries was a topic I didn't even know before. Like it was like I would do everything for everyone. I would like please everyone, and now it's like that doesn't work in a community.
Yeah.
And that's a topic that a lot of people experience here when they come.
Yeah.
I got so many people like, what to do? How do you guys do it? Like, and then it's like, yeah, take time for you, really, for being with your own energy.
Yeah. Yeah, community can really suck the life out of you. I mean, and that's why I do admire you guys. Really seem to have figured out a very beautiful way for yourselves, just from the outside, and also being there for each member in a very centered and calm and guiding way. So I think that you're doing a really beautiful job with that. How do you do for your family? How do you take those moments that is just for you? That must be very hard.
Yeah, I mean, we are still on this learning curve and process, and I mean, it's also a very specific situation because we knew each other so shortly before 3 months we know each other. Then Enki was coming, and a year after that we were already here. So it's like it was everything very quick. So we're also still like learning to figure that out in a good way for us. Why we also recognized we need holidays. So in the beginning, it was also almost not possible. We both didn't have a driver license, so we were stuck, more or less. So yeah, when we had this year vacations together and we went on a festival and went to Portugal a bit, that was so good for us in terms of connecting with each other, but also in terms of just getting new inspirations, just being away from this place, and came with so much enthusiasm back, and suddenly so many things were just working out when we came back. So yeah, I think that's important. And then also we have kind of like schedule, we're kind of very German with those things. We have a schedule, like we're in the week was like one talk, it's like relationship talk, therapy talk, something romantical. So all kind of different aspects of our relationship that need to have these spaces, because if you don't consciously create them, they drop under the amount of things that just come in every day.
Karen, you spoke a bit about the bookings. If you could elaborate a little bit more on that, what you offer, where people can find you, that would be great. What kind of services? Particularly, I'd be interested also, are you already in a place, or are you looking to be in a place at some point where, let's say, a whole party of people wants to organize something on this piece of land, be it a wedding, be it a retreat, whatever. Is that something that you can also do?
Yes. So at the moment, you can find us on Airbnb, Booking.com. But as I mentioned, that our goal is more moving towards becoming a full retreat place. We have already people that have hosted their retreats here and want to do it in the future. You can find us on Instagram. You can always text us there, send us an email, but we're also in different platforms that are specifically for like hiring a venue for a retreat. So what we offer there is like, not that you can have the whole space for yourself, because it's like, it needs to be managed by us. So what we do is we offer a package of, I think now we have most like 18 people could stay. We provide the food, all the meals, and the bedding, and the spaces for ceremonies, yoga, and so on. And I mean, we had an off-grid wedding here. But I think it's also a possibility that we can offer the services, and then people can organize their party or mostly we want to do it as a ceremony. So something that is also very mindful of the land, of the space. We try not to keep it as a place where there's a lot of alcohol and things going on, but more like, okay, we come here really to connect with the land, to connect with yourself. So we're looking for people that want a place that will support that.
Mindful, conscious. Yeah.
Exactly. And we also offer our own retreats. And what we are also doing, like starting to have, for example, a one-day retreat also for the people in the area, also in Spanish, because most of the things are happening in English.
Mm-hmm.
And what I recognize is that also in Spain, it's sometimes difficult. It's either in English or in Spanish.
Okay.
But also starting to connect with the teachers around to create like smaller activities where we can also include people around.
Mm-hmm.
And also through booking and so on, people, like you can contact us and say, okay, I want to come here, maybe with my partner or with my family, and we would like to eat with you guys, and maybe also have like a mini retreat. So we join yoga in the mornings. There's always yoga in the mornings with him. And if they would like to have another treatment or another like session, or they can also do so. So we offer breath work ceremonies or coaching, or sometimes we have people that do massages or tattoos or Reiki. So we offer also those possibilities when people come here. Singing circles, things. Yeah.
That's beautiful. What type of coachings do you offer?
So I offer somatic coaching. Somatic coaching usually also works a lot with the body, listening to the body, and understanding what's going on with all your inner parts. And I combine it with breath work mostly. So we can really go through the big emotions and the big stuff that's happening. So I do that mostly online, but also I've done it here one-on-one when people need to have that space. Also, we have, I forgot, we have also online ceremonies that we do every new moon. I do it with Teresa. She also lives here long term. She became a friend, kind of part of family. And we do that every month.
Okay. So. Oh, that's online as well.
Mm-hmm. That's online, but also people that are here can join live. So.
Okay. Are you expecting to be offering any retreats in the next 6 months?
Next year, we have more external retreats planned, but we are thinking May is going to be the month where we are going to do another bigger retreat from Maitreya, where we are the facilitators.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you met people or people came to you and they said, Michi, Karen, we just love what you guys are doing. We are looking to do something like this. Are there any words of wisdom? Are there any guidance? Are there any things that you would be able to give them to encourage them? Is there any particular message that you would like to give them?
Yeah, I like that question because I truly believe this way of living is something that is so natural to us and where we actually come from, and what is kind of also in my perspective how we can impact this world in changing. Because if we really live in community and nature, then we see the importance of us humans around, but also of nature around, and we're so disconnected through the city life. So I really want to encourage people because I see it a lot, especially through, we probably already 600 people coming through here and probably just 200 volunteers. And I see so much in this younger generation, a lot of people wanting that, like wanting to live in this way. And this is beautiful for me to see because I believe this is the change we need. And I want to encourage people to make that step. I think the first thing that they should ask themselves is, and maybe they don't know it in that moment because I also didn't know it in that moment, but really going deep with this question, how do I actually want to live? Because people will in the first place maybe accept a lot because they're just like, oh, I'm nature and there's people around me and I'm really happy. But really go deep with this question, because this is a very individual question. And then I want to encourage people to believe that they can do it, because I myself didn't have rich parents. I didn't have myself the money to create it or to get a place like this. So I didn't see how I could create anything like this. I was more than people came and join something. But through the dedication of working towards it, so having the rhythmic way of approaching the topic you want to bring into your life, as well as being open for the emotional topics that will come with this topic, I truly believe you can create anything you want. The universe will bend its reality towards that goal. And Yeah, I think that was our experience so far. And of course, the more people you can unite in that belief and this dream that you want to create, the easier it will also get. Because already two minds have more capacity than one to figure out solutions or problems where we individually would not know an answer. So yeah, I would really encourage people follow your way and keep on it and be open to the emotions that are in the way.
Beautiful words. Before we come to the end, I do have a couple of signature questions I ask all my guests. If you had the opportunity to go back and meet your younger self, what would you tell him or her?
To release, to like really, really allow myself to feel. So I don't need to be afraid of emotions. I can go through emotions because after the emotion, you get way more clarity on what you want to do. And I feel like sometimes we are so much afraid of like, okay, what is this going to bring? What's this going to bring? So I'm just going to go this path because it's easier. Nobody's complaining. I'm just going to go that way. To really challenge that and say, you're going to be safe if you feel you're going to just have more information, more wisdom, and you will probably just know more who you are, know where to go.
Thank you.
I actually like the answer. Yeah, because I'm thinking, what is the most challenging part about being younger? And it is being overwhelmed with your emotions and being like, my whole life is depending on this emotion. And then you're so much in your thoughts and like, I need to solve this and figure it out. And you're so in fear to figure it out. So yeah, I mean, probably having this understanding that there is nothing that needs to be solved in the moment of emotion. Your mind can just relax and just be present or having whatever right now is in your body present as a feeling. Because that made a huge step in my life when I recognized it's just be with that feeling that is there, and then later on you will have more clarity about that. And maybe the other thing would be relax, everything will work out fine. The world is not going to end how I many times thought in my life. It's just one more learning on the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My last question to you both is there anything that you never heard from your dad that you would have liked to hear?
Yeah, probably something like, you did it good, or it's exactly enough what you did, because that was in my childhood never the case. It was always like, you can improve that, however good it ever would have been. And I think that's something that is so deeply inherently still driving me to really struggle to relax, because I feel like, I need to improve.
I think for me, it's more like a feeling of like, it will all be okay. You will be safe. It's going to be fine. Because I felt there was a lot of stress and a lot of like, survival. And this was always like, is everything going to be fine or not? Like these words of like, it's going to be fine. We're safe. We need to worry.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time. You guys are leading examples to so many people in creating something that is not just for yourselves, but for the world at large, be it nature, be it other human beings, and of course, including yourselves and your family. So thank you so much for taking the time. And I wish you both the strength and all that what you will need, the inspiration, the continuation, the patience to keep your dreams going and the vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your interview, and also thank you for your questions. It's always great to be a reminder for each other, because also all the things we say is reminding ourselves doing those things instead.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing also our project and general what you're doing as well. Connecting the families, bringing this love for our children, how we can also impact the next generation with what we do, with how we speak to them, with ourselves.
Thank you for taking the time and listening to my podcast today. If you want to learn more about me, check out my website, www.fatherhoodfromtheheart.com. There you will find information about my coaching offers and approach. I would be honored to accompany you on your path, be it on your own or with a parent, partner, daughter, or son. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast. And link and share this episode so that more can hear, learn, and grow from the wisdom of my guests. I would also be incredibly grateful if you could rate and review the show, and please don't forget to leave a comment. I will end the show for now, but remember to be kind to yourself. Until next time, I say goodbye and send love and gratitude from my heart to yours.